16 years after the death of the greatest gladiator in general, Marcus, Rome finds itself under yet another tyrant emperor. This time, twin emperors Geta and Caracalla. Marcus dreamt of a beautiful Rome where democracy ruled over everyone, but now corruption has spread to the roots of the government. The once great city is now doomed to its fall. Meanwhile, in a faraway land called Numidia, a man named Hano lives a peaceful life with his wife, Arishat. But one day, their land is attacked by the great Roman army. Both Hano and Arishat join the Numidian army, led by the chieftain Jugurtha. The Roman army arrives in their warships under the leadership of the great general Acacius. Next, his men storm the Numidian defenses, and both Acacius and Hano fight bravely. But then, Arishat is struck by an arrow that pierces her heart, and she falls into the sea. After that, the Numidians are defeated by the Romans, and Hano and Jugurtha are captured along with their remaining soldiers. Hano sadly watches Arishat leave this world in his dreams as she is transported to the afterlife. Even after the victory, Acacius seems disappointed, and they leave after burning the dead bodies. The war prisoners are given tattoo marks of slavery and are sold to the highest bidders. On their way to Ostia in the Roman Empire, Hano notices Jugurtha's hand is broken, so he helps him with his injury. Later that night, Hano remembers his childhood, recalling the time when soldiers searched for him, but he escaped on horseback under the cover of darkness. Meanwhile, Acacius receives a hero's welcome from the people of Rome and the twin emperors. The people love him deeply, and the emperors tell him they will prepare gladiator games in his honor. But Acacius tells them that all he needs is time to rest with his wife, as he has been at battle for so long. However, Emperor Caracalla tells him that his wife, Lucilla, the queen, sister of the previous emperor, and daughter of the emperor before him, is not very obedient. He adds that she even refused to attend the parade. Then Geta points a sword at Acacius, declaring that he will not let him rest because Rome will soon need to conquer Persia and India. Meanwhile, on the outskirts of Rome, in Antium, many slave owners gather to attend a brutal fight among the war prisoners to buy the most fit gladiators. Among them is a man known as the master of gladiators, Macrinus, who is there to purchase champions. But this fight isn't ordinary. The war captives must battle a herd of wild monkeys. As soon as the monkeys are released, Hano tells Jugurtha to stay close to him because he is already injured. However, the monkeys are ruthless and kill Jugurtha instantly. After that, Hano fights fiercely and manages to kill one of the monkeys after biting it. Then Macrinus, impressed by what he witnessed, buys Hano along with a few others. After a few days, the captives are cleaned and well fed by Macrinus's right-hand man, Vigo. Then Macrinus gathers them and asks Hano about his origins, but Hano doesn't respond. Next, Macrinus orders Vigo to test Hano, and Hano fights incredibly well. After that, Macrinus speaks with Hano in private, telling him that he chose him as his champion because he sees too much rage in him. He then explains that Hano will have to fight to earn his freedom. However, all Hano wants is the head of Acacius. Macrinus promises him Acacius's head if he wins this year's gladiator games. That night, Acacius confesses to Lucilla about the horrors he caused in Numidia and the countless lives he took for the glory of Rome. He declares that he will no longer sacrifice young lives for the vanity of Rome's rulers. If he fights again, it will be to overthrow the emperors. Lucilla asks about the arrival of his troops, and Acacius reveals they will land in Ostia within 10 days. When she questions their loyalty, he assures her that every soldier will stand by him. Acacius also notes the lack of public support for the emperors, pointing out that the people are exhausted by the madness and tyranny of their reign. Next, Senator Thrax invites the emperors to his home and prepares an indoor gladiator battle for their amusement. Macrinus's new champion, Hano, is given a chance to prove himself against the undefeated house champion, the mighty Vitek. Before the fight, Thrax speaks with Macrinus about his ambition to become a senator. However, Macrinus dismisses the idea, stating that he is uneducated and has no desire to play a role in politics. Instead, Macrinus suggests a large bet on the upcoming gladiator match, and Thrax agrees. Then, the fight begins. Hano asks Vitek not to kill each other for the entertainment of other men, but Vitek ignores him and attacks. Vitek relies on brute strength, while Hano outmatches him with technical skill. Finally, Hano defeats and kills him. Both emperors are thoroughly entertained by the fight. Emperor Geta approaches Hano and asks for his name and origin, but Hano remains silent. Macrinus quickly explains that Hano is a barbarian who only speaks his native language. To everyone's surprise, Hano recites a quote from one of the most famous poets in the Roman Empire. Although Geta is both shocked and confused, Emperor Caracalla applauds Macrinus for bringing not just a fighter, but also a poet. He praises both Hano and Macrinus, and Geta invites Macrinus to bring his champion to the Colosseum. Later, Macrinus talks with Hano and asks him where he learned Roman poetry. Hano explains that he heard it from a captured Roman general he guarded as a child. However, Macrinus grows suspicious and leaves, saying they will be heading to Rome. That night, Lucilla meets with the Senate and Acacius in secret to plan Rome's reclamation. Acacius reveals that his army of 5,000 will march from Ostia on the final day of the gladiator games to arrest the emperors for their crimes. The senators acknowledge the risks, but pledge their support, trusting Lucilla, as Marcus Aurelius's daughter, to lead. They agree that if she reclaims Rome, the Senate will stand by her. Next, Macrinus arrives in Rome, and the gladiators wonder what the wolf at the gate symbolizes. Hano tells them that the twin emperors were left for dead as babies in the woods and were saved by a wolf that suckled them with her milk. He says this might explain why the two of them are so cruel to their people. After that, Macrinus finds tyrants and suggests that instead of repaying the bet he lost previously, he can double it during Hano's next fight. Next, a grand gladiator game is held at the Colosseum. The Master of Ceremonies hosts the event, and the Senate, Lucilla, Acacius, and the twin emperors are all in attendance. The emperors ask Acacius to address the people, knowing he is loved by all. Acacius delivers a speech, saying the people need their bravery now more than ever, which angers the emperors. Then the gladiator game begins. Hano leads a group of gladiators against the emperor's undefeated champion, Glyceo the Destroyer. Glyceo enters the arena with a rhino and begins attacking the gladiators. Hano organizes his team, but one gladiator refuses to follow his plan. After that, Hano prepares to fight Glyceo and emulates the late legendary gladiator Maximus in the Colosseum. Lucilla watches from the stands and immediately realizes that Hano is no ordinary war captive. He is her own son, Lucius, the rightful heir to the throne. Then Hano creates a diversion by stirring up dust to lead the rhino into a wall. He fights Glyceo, but is initially overpowered. Emperor Geta gives the final judgment to spare Lucius's life, but Lucius refuses mercy from the emperor. Instead, he continues the fight and eventually kills Glyceo. The crowd roars Hano's name, unaware that it is their king Lucius fighting in the arena. After the game, Lucilla heads to the temple to pray. She remembers the time she sent Lucius away, just after the emperor and Maximus died, knowing powerful men would try to kill him to seize power. She stayed behind for the sake of Rome and claimed that Lucius was dead. At night, Lucius is treated by the Colosseum doctor, Ravi, who tells him he was also once a gladiator and earned his freedom by winning the gladiator game final. In the morning, Lucilla invites Macrinus to meet her. He tells her that he once served under her father, Emperor Marcus Aurelius. She then asks him where he usually buys his gladiators, and he explains that most of them are prisoners of war. However, when he notices the statue of the young Emperor Marcus Aurelius, he begins to suspect that Lucius looks very much like him. After doing some research, Macrinus learns that Lucilla had a child who disappeared without a trace. That night, Lucilla visits Lucius in his cell and tells him she is his mother, asking him if he remembers her. Lucius replies that whatever son she thinks she had is gone, and that he is now a new man. She insists that he must understand and reveals that his father is the greatest gladiator and general, Marcus Aurelius. Lucius grows angry and sends her away. After that, Lucilla heads to Acacius and informs him that Lucius is her son, the one true emperor. She tells him they must rescue Lucius and have him lead the army in Ostia, but unbeknownst to them, a servant overhears their conversation. In the next gladiator game, Lucius emerges victorious, but he takes a crossbow and attempts to kill Acacius from the crowd. However, he misses. After the game, Vigo tries to punish Lucius, but Lucius has grown too popular to be subdued. Later, the servant leaks this information to Senator Tyrants, who has lost all his money to Macrinus. Tyrants reveals the conspiracy to Macrinus, including the plan to dethrone the emperors. That night, Acacius and his men sneak into Macrinus' stables to free Lucius, but soldiers are already waiting for them. All of Acacius' men are killed, and Acacius is captured. At the same time, Lucilla is captured in her room. It is revealed that Macrinus leaked this information to the emperors to gain their favor. Emperor Caracalla orders Acacius to be hanged and Lucilla to be crucified. However, Macrinus advises that such deaths are reserved for thieves and that traitors should be executed in the arena as gladiators. Geta agrees, and Acacius is sent to the Colosseum as a gladiator. Meanwhile, Ravi tells Lucius about Maximus and shows him the legendary gladiator's armor and sword, which are kept in a secret place. The next day, a gladiator match is held between the great gladiator Lucius and the Roman general, Acacius. Lucius attacks Acacius, determined to avenge his wife, but Acacius proves to be a highly skilled fighter and bests Lucius repeatedly. Then Acacius tells Lucius that he knows him, his father and his mother, and that he loves both her and Rome. He declares that he will not kill Lucius and allows him to decide what to do. Acacius surrenders the fight, but Geta orders him to be killed. Lucius refuses to execute Acacius, so the soldiers shoot Acacius with multiple arrows under Geta's orders. The people of Rome are shocked by this brutal act. Lucius turns to the crowd and asks if this is how they wish to treat their heroes. Meanwhile, it is revealed that all of this is part of Macrinus's plan to incite the public to revolt against the emperors. Macrinus has his own ambitions to rule the empire and orchestrates these events to further his schemes. Now the people of Rome start a riot against their emperors, and Macrinus manipulates Caracalla into believing that Geta plans to blame him for the chaos. Caracalla falls for the deception and kills his brother Geta with Macrinus's help. Meanwhile, Lucilla reconciles with her son Lucius and gives him her father's ring, which once belonged to Maximus and later to Acacius. Next, Caracalla grows more insane by the day and names his pet monkey Dondus as his first consul and Macrinus as his second. Using this madness to his advantage, Macrinus gains control of the Roman soldiers and persuades the Senate that he can restore order. Fearing his wrath, they all agree. Later, Macrinus reveals to Lucilla that he was once a gladiator who won his freedom under Aurelius's rule. He vows revenge by seizing the throne, showing her his slave mark, and claiming that killing her will pave his path to power. Later, Lucius sends Ravi with the ring to request help from Acacius's legions stationed in Ostia. He tells Ravi to inform the commanding general, Darius, that his prince will wait for him at the Colosseum. Ravi leaves with the ring after confirming he can trust Lucius. After finding Darius, Ravi gives him the ring, and Darius confirms that Lucius is the true prince. Darius then marches with his army to the gates of Rome. Next, Macrinus persuades Caracalla to sentence Lucilla to execution in the Colosseum, as he needs Caracalla's image to be distorted in public because Lucilla is loved by the public. After a few days, Vigo informs Lucius that this will be his final battle, where he can earn his freedom. However, Lucius attacks Vigo and frees all the gladiators as part of his grand plan. Then he dons Maximus's sword and armor and enters the Colosseum. There, his final battle is to defend his mother and the treacherous Senate against the Roman soldier. But Lucius isn't alone. The gladiators join him in the fight. Seeing the uprising, Macrinus orders his soldiers to concentrate their efforts in the arena. But soon he receives word that 5,000 men have arrived at the gates of Rome, ready to overthrow him. He quickly commands his remaining soldiers to abandon the arena and head to the gates. Meanwhile, the people begin to rise against the soldiers, causing chaos. Macrinus kills Caracalla in cold blood and then shoots Lucilla in the chest with an arrow, killing her. Afterward, he flees to the city gates to prepare for the coming battle, but Lucius chases after him. At the gates of Rome, both armies stand face to face, waiting for the outcome of the fight between Lucius and Macrinus. The two men engage in a fierce battle, displaying their strength. In the final moments, Lucius overpowers Macrinus and kills him. He then addresses both armies, declaring that the children of Rome must not fight each other in pointless battles. For the first time, he reveals his true identity to the public. Lucius vows to restore power to the Senate and rebuild the Roman Empire to fulfill the people's dreams. That night, Lucius returns to the Colosseum to mourn his mother. In his grief, he sees a vision of Maximus walking through his wheat fields in the afterlife, a reminder of the legacy he must uphold. And the movie ends here. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out these awesome movie recap videos. Subscribe the Explanation Pro for our upcoming videos.